Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here. I can't imagine a more exciting place to be than in India following the 3G auctions. I've had a number of fantastic conversations with folks over the last couple of days. I look forward to the events of the evening and getting to know more of you better. Let's see here. Okay. I've been asked to give a Qualcomm perspective on the 3G. Oh, we're getting the display here booted up. On the 3G landscape. But I thought I'd start with an historical perspective. So think back to a decade ago, the year 2000, and the auctions of spectrum in Europe. In that year, there were auctions across the European continent. And for those of you who followed that, think in your mind, don't say it out loud, but think if you recall the number, the dollar amount, the dollar figure that the European operators think back a decade ago to what the European operators spent on the spectrum. And then try to remember the number of UMTS devices that were commercially available. So to remind those of you who followed the numbers a decade ago, the European operators spent 190 billion US dollars, 190 billion US dollars in 2000, and there were identically zero UMTS devices available for them. So that was quite a big bet for them. Fast forward a decade later, and in India, this 3G auction, 15 billion, with a population of double that of Europe. And of course, I'm simplifying a bit. That's not the way an economist would think about it, or a chief financial officer of an operating company. But it does help to put this current auction in historical perspective. A lot of articles, I think roughly double the number in terms of dollars was raised in the auction relative to what was anticipated. But it helps to put this auction in historical perspective. So looking at the global 3G, just 5 years ago, there were 160 operators. And by 3G, I have to, if it's being driven in the back, maybe we could just forego the laptop. I can do that way. Just 5 years ago, 2005, 160 3G operators. And in this presentation, I will define 3G as the combination of CDMA 2000 and WCDMA, the entire WCDMA family, including HSDPA, HSUPA, HSPA+. So under CDMA 2000, CDMA 2000 1X RTT, and CDMA 2000 1X EVDO. And I'm going to build upon the message that Conrad Willander began with this afternoon, and hopefully give a good solid foundation in data. The presentation is fairly quantitative. It's a tough act to follow, following the dancing. Oh, could we go back for a second? Maybe I will need to. So in 2005, 160 operators, 200 million subs. And by the first quarter of this year, first calendar quarter of the year, the number of operators had more than quadrupled. And the number of subscribers, 3G subscribers on 3G networks across the world had increased by a factor of 5. So already 1 billion 3G subscribers. Okay, next slide. Here's a picture of the world. More than 85% of the operators worldwide have launched 3G. There are a few holdouts, Greenland and Iceland and various countries scattered around. But over 85% of the operators have today launched 3G. 1 billion subscribers, and breaking down the 3G a bit more, so of the 655 operators in the WCDMA family, there are 345 operators, and of those 345 operators, 340 have upgraded to HSDPA, 100 have even further upgraded to HSUPA, and over 50 of the WCDMA operators are now offering HSPA+. On the CDMA 2000 side, there are 340 operators that offer CDMA 2000, and of those 340, 115 have upgraded to EVDO, and of those 115, 80 have gone Rev A, and 1 has even gone Rev B. So the 3G operators, they're continuing to roll out higher and higher data speeds with greater and greater spectral efficiency. A lot of the 3G growth has been fueled by the transition from GSM to 3G. And all of the data that I'll be presenting be presenting today, with the exception of one slide, comes from sources that are wireless analysts, and I've included the citations. All the data can be verified. In this plot, we are averaging the consensus view of 3 of the wireless analysts. In some of the charts, you'll see. Please don't get confused. This will be the number of handsets shipped per year or the number of subscribers. In this particular plot, I'm showing the number of handsets shipped per year. So beginning in 2008 and going forward to 2014, the orange bars show the trend for GSM. GSM has been a fantastic technology for hundreds of millions of subscribers. They enjoy the connectivity that GSM enables them. But you can see how the 3G is growing and growing rapidly. So already by 2010, the number of 3G handsets, the number of 3G handsets shipped in 2010 will roughly equal the number of GSM handsets. And by next year, the consensus view of the analysts is that the 3G handset shipments will vastly surpass the number of GSM handsets. And by the year 2014, there's a 3 or 4 or 5 to 1 ratio between the 3G handsets and GSM. So there's a very, very strong growth story for 3G. It continues to accelerate. Even from just 2009 to 2010, the cumulative annual growth rate was over 30%. And in 2013, you see that we'll crack the billion mark as the projection for the 3G handset shipments. Next slide. First, I'll talk about EVDO, or the CDMA 2000, and then HSPA. So in EVDO, continued strong growth. This year, about 200 million subscribers, projected to about double by the year 2014. So of those CDMA 2000 1X EVDO, 200% growth year over year for the Rev A. So enabling consumers with the higher data rates, and the network, the operators enjoy the greater network capacity and efficiency of the Rev A physical layer. A lot of this growth is driven by the emerging markets, by India and China. And in India, as of the first quarter of this year, about 50 towns were covered with EVDO, and going to 100. I'm sure the numbers have even increased from these published results. In China, last year alone, there were over 340 cities that were covered by EVDO networks.